Dad's adultery caused my parents to divorce when I was 16. I'm conflicted about their remarriage. I never envisaged sharing my heart with strangers online. But here I am, attempting to make sense of my life's disarray. As Jennifer, 28F, my mother Gladys, 55F, has been my best friend, confidant, and support. I thought our friendship was unshakable. The Johnsons were famous in Millbrook, where I grew up. My father, Earl, 57M, was a wealthy real estate entrepreneur with a charming grin and a knack for closing deals. The perfect homemaker, Mom volunteered at school events and organized neighborhood picnics. Our family looked perfect from the outside. Our Maple Street house was constantly busy. I remember sitting on a stool in our sunny kitchen as Mom made her famous chocolate chip cookies in the afternoons. The smell would draw Dad from his home office. He sneaked a warm cookie, winked, and ruffled my hair before work. Those days were great, like we were sitcom stars. We had family adventures on weekends. We'd hop in Dad's gorgeous SUV and drive to local towns or state parks. Mom planned the best picnics, and our family loved her homemade fried chicken. I remember my father flying a kite in the park with his conference tie fluttering. Mom and I laughed as the kite dived and swooped. Almost never took off. Not everything was ideal. I remember late evenings when Dad didn't come home and Mom sat by the window with a cold coffee. She dismissed it the next morning, saying he was late on a big job. My want to believe her was easier than facing the opposite. The summer I turned 16 altered everything. My learner's permit arrived on a warm July day. I liked practicing driving with Mom, but as I entered the kitchen to leave, I saw her at the table, her eyes red and puffy from tears. Then she informed me about her divorce. The following weeks blurred. Dad left, removing our house's pleasure and love. The story gradually revealed his affair with his secretary, his secret flat in the city, and his long-term double life. Very irritated. I blamed Dad for betraying us and his secretary for being the other woman, but mostly at myself for not recognizing the symptoms. In the worst way, the late nights, mysterious phone calls, and constant business travels made sense. Mom was distraught. Helping my father and raising me cost Mom a teaching career. At 43, she was alone, unemployed, and supporting a teenage daughter. I watched her struggle to stay together, applying for jobs during the day and crying herself to sleep. We had to reduce. We're moving from our magnificent Maple Street home to a little 2-bedroom apartment across town. I started working part-time at a local diner to pay costs. My old neighborhood friends left, dissatisfied with our new circumstances. Mom and I supported each other throughout. Late nights we talked about everything. She recounted her college days and the goals she put on weight to be a wife and mother. I told her my future plans, my calculus class infatuation and college worries. Our mother-daughter relationship became best friends while drinking hot chocolate on our second-hand couch. Dad left our lives. He skipped my high school graduation and sent a generic card and check. My mother cried delighted tears and helped me move into my dorm after I got into state university. Dad texted congratulations 3 days later. My mother and I got stronger despite or because of the challenges. I marveled at her transformation. She took online classes while working part-time as a receptionist. I was prouder than ever when she graduated with her teaching credential, beaming with pride. Year after year, things improved. After graduating with a marketing degree, I worked for a small city firm. Mom appeared happy teaching 3rd grade at the local elementary school. We ate weekly dinners. I alternate between my tiny city apartment and her cozy suburban home. At one of our dinners 6 months ago, Mom dropped the bomb. After reconnecting with her father on social media, they chatted. She stated that she had forgiven him and wanted to revitalize their relationship. I was stunned, my fork clanging across my plate as I tried to understand her. He put us through so much, how could she forgive him? The lost birthdays, financial problems, and the night she cried to sleep? He caused us anguish and left us when we needed him most, I reminded her. Mom insisted that people evolve and deserve another chance. Over the next few months, I watched Mom and Dad date with mounting worry. They ate lunch at the Italian restaurant where they had their first date 40 years earlier. They enjoyed weekend trips to the seashore and posted adorable romantic selfies on Facebook. Mom was happy, but I believed this would end in disaster again. Mom asked me home for dinner last week. Dad's car was in the driveway when I arrived, surprising me. Like old times, Mom was stirring her famous spaghetti sauce and Dad was laying the table when I entered. They told me over dinner they were remarrying and needed my approval. My feet felt like they had sunk. My spaghetti tasted like ash. My emotions ran wild. Years of anger and hurt erupted. I reminded Dad of how he hurt us and missed important life events. I told Mom I was unhappy that she would let him back in so easily, wasting her strength and independence, which she had worked so hard to develop. They said they'd matured and evolved throughout time. Dad apologized for his past mistakes and offered to make amends. Mom said their love was worth fighting for and believed in second chances. Only the sound of my world falling could be heard. I left the supper in tears, ignoring their efforts to talk. I drove aimlessly for hours, thinking about the evening. After returning to my flat, I collapsed on my bed, feeling betrayed by my closest confidant. Not sure what to do. I love my mother but cannot support this decision. I don't trust my father and fear he'll hurt her again. My best friend and the strong, independent woman I admired are leaving me. Can I handle this? Should I accept their decision for Mom? Should I stick to my guns and risk losing her? Just thinking of playing happy families with our father who left us makes me physically queasy. Being separated from my mother is as painful. I'm confused and need advice. How can I protect my mother without alienating her? How do I handle Dad returning after so long? Can I overcome my hurt and rage, or am I right? I am completely clueless, so any advice is much appreciated. Update 1 in the month since my last post. Life has been a roller coaster. I appreciate your advice and assistance. Your words saved me in this terrible moment. After the bad supper, I avoided my mother's calls and texts for a week. I pushed myself at work, working late and volunteering for any assignment. Avoidance is not sustainable, especially with Gladys Johnson. Experienced third-grade teacher and determined mother. She brought a bag of bagels and a determined look to my place one Sunday morning. I opened the door in my pajamas and heard a mess, but she said, "We need to talk, sweetheart." We sat at my modest kitchen table, which she helped me choose when I moved to the city. Mom spoke while we spread cream cheese on bagels. She apologized for how she broke the news to me, acknowledging it was a lot to take in. She then stated her story, honestly. I discovered her grief during the divorce. She recounted nights spent staring at the ceiling, unsure of her mistakes. She was humiliated by bumping into her father's girlfriend at the grocery store and needing help paying expenses she used to handle easily. But then she informed me about her healing journey. I didn't know she went to therapy. She spent years healing her anger, hurt, and self-esteem. Forgiving her father was about letting go of years of bitterness and anger, she said. With unshed tears, she said holding on to that rage was like eating poison and expecting the other person to die. I needed to let go for myself. She said her father had therapy also. He woke up after his second marriage ended. He tried to comprehend and apologize for his history. Mom said they had long, difficult conversations about the past and their expectations for the future. During the conversation, I sensed my anger gradually turning into perplexity. This wasn't my reconciliation fantasy. Mom returned to old behaviors, and Dad stepped in with grand gestures and empty promises. The truth was more complicated. My doubts persisted. Years of hurt don't disappear. I requested Mom to postpone the wedding so I could grasp everything and potentially repair my connection with my father. Mom agreed immediately, to my relief. As she squeezed my hand across the table, she said, "Your feelings matter to me, sweetie. We shouldn't rush into something that could harm our relationship. Take as long as needed." Mom booked lunches with Dad and me for weeks. We met in a neutral downtown cafe we had never been to. I arrived early. I almost ran when he entered. Gray streaks in his dark hair made him look older. His uneasy smile as he sat down reminded me of my childhood father. It was strange at first. Years have passed since we talked. We eventually communicated. He asked about my work, and I told stories about difficult clients and wonderful projects. He informed me about his work and how he had cut back to focus on sustainable development. Then he apologized. Not only an apology, but an admission of fatherhood failures. He apologized for being selfish and cowardly, and was sorry for our suffering. Talked about his treatment and how he improved. I listened, torn between rage and a desperate need to believe him. But I showed that words were insufficient. He had to show consistency before I trusted him again. We agreed to meet weekly. We're attempting to repair our relationship. Though challenging and uncomfortable, I'm trying to be open-minded. Mom and Dad are still together but have postponed their wedding. My comfort comes from their leisurely pace. Mom says they're in couples therapy and working through their challenges. Monthly family dinners began. The first had tense, forced dialogue. The process gets easier with each attempt. A story Mom told about her students made us giggle. I'm still not sure about their reconciliation, but I'm trying to support Mom's happiness. Her eyes sparkle when she talks about her father, which I haven't seen in years. I'm working on it day by day. My focus is on improving my relationship with my mother and reconnecting with my father. It's hard, but I hope things will clear up over time. Thank you again for your help. Your stories about similar situations made me feel less alone. I'll keep you posted. Update 2: after 3 months, I'd want to update you. Recent months have been filled of life's unexpected surprises. We now have family dinners every other week. Still nervous, but less so. Dad is often present, physically and emotionally. He asks about my work, remembers my friends, and helped me fix my car last month. Regarding cars, I'd like to discuss a recent significant event. Dad suggested lunch for 2 last month. I hesitated but agreed. His car picked me up, and a powerful memory struck me. My father taught me to drive in an empty parking lot when I was 15. Dad was tolerant as I held the steering wheel too tightly, nervous. Using a soothing voice, he led me through each step. He high-fived me heartily as I parked between the lines, making us chuckle. Sitting in his car after so long made me choke up. Things had changed since then, but here we were trying to rekindle that father-daughter tie. Dad gave me an envelope at lunch. He said he had written all he wanted to say to me but couldn't find the right words in person. I opened it and read with shaky hands. The letter was lengthy and touching. Dad realized he had missed my high school graduation, college admission, and first job. He deeply regretted his absence and the suffering he caused. He saw my life evolve through social media and Mom's stories, feeling like a spectator. He said he was happy of the woman I became without him, which stung me worst. He called it a tribute to my mother and my tenacity. He cited the marketing campaign I led last year, the half marathon I finished, and the container garden I developed on my apartment balcony. He knew about these things, and I was impressed and affected that he cared. I sobbed reading that letter. It didn't solve everything, but it started. I thanked Dad for his honesty and told him I needed time to think. Mom and Dad's connection is slow. Mom promises to take their time with wedding plans. They're rebuilding their relationship. Mom and I have more one-on-one time. We have a monthly spa day to relax and talk. One day, Mom discussed her forgiveness and healing. She described the day she let go of her wrath. She celebrated her 50th birthday with a yoga retreat. Meditation helped her realize that holding resentment injured her. She said it was like releasing a heavy weight I didn't realize I was carrying. Mom taught me that forgiving Dad was about her serenity, not his. She said reconciling with him was hard. She shared my fears. She decided happiness was worth the risk. Despite my caution, I see progress. Dad has worked hard to repair our connection. He's attended family reunions, remembered important dates, and tried to get to know me as an adult. He brought lunch to my office last week, surprising me. It was wonderful to eat sandwiches and watch birds in the park across the street. Though imperfect, it's a positive step forward. I'm more receptive to their reconciliation than before. Seeing Mom happy and Dad trying has softened my viewpoint. I'm learning to face old hurts honestly rather than letting them fester. I'm still traveling, one step at a time. I'm healing my scars and reestablishing relationships at my own pace. Thank you for your advice and assistance. If anything changes, I'll update. Post 6 months have passed since my last post, so let me update you. The past few months have shown that life moves forward whether we're ready or not. The biggest news is that Mom and Dad will renew their vows instead of having a lavish wedding. Only their personal family and close friends will attend their small wedding. They surprised me by saying I liked the concept over dinner last month. Not thrilled, not offended, just okay. This may be growth in itself. Both have worked hard for months. Dad has attended both huge and minor events. He offered to paint the living room and assemble furniture for my apartment move. He remembered my half-birthday, which we celebrated as children. He brought cupcakes from my favorite bakery and a bookshop gift card. Mom has been my rock in this. She gave me space and was ready to talk when I needed it. Spa days are sacred time for connecting and being open. In our recent spa day, she shared that she enjoys spending time with her father but is still scared to fully trust him. Her openness showed me that she is making a careful, open-minded decision. I've kept healing too. Journaling has helped me manage my emotions. I've had multiple breakthroughs where I realized holding on to the anchor hurt me more than anyone else. I still struggle, but I'm trying. I accepted a weekend trip with my parents. I spent my childhood summers at the lake cottage. We had not spent that much time together in years. I yelled at my father when he made a joke about the good old days. We laughed and connected too. Our hikes, board games, and s'mores attempts finished with Dad igniting a marshmallow on fire, as he used to. I saw Mom and Dad's communication during the trip. It was more real and adult than my childhood romanticized love. I saw them resolve conflicts with respect and understanding. I heard them planning a future conflict on the porch one night. They listened, compromised, and hugged after the conversation. Though brief, it stuck with me. I don't mean everything is perfect. Sometimes old hurts resurface, and I'm still working on trusting my father. Still, I'm far better off than when I wrote that piece. Mom and Dad renew their vows next month. They asked me to stand with them at the ceremony. After thinking, I agreed. It feels right, symbolizing our family's recovery and growth. Dad has asked for my advice on his vows, and I'm helping Mom choose clothes. It's bizarre and lovely. I appreciate everyone who has followed my tale and advised me. Your help means more than you think. Though terrible, this route has taught me about forgiveness, development, and the nuances of love and family. The future is unknown, but I'm optimistic and open-hearted. More hardships, skepticism, and hurt are anticipated. However, I feel better prepared to handle them. I appreciate your company on this journey.